Hey everybody, Adam Savage here in my cave with a really exciting show and tell. Okay, that won't fully cover the scope of how awesome this video is about to be because we are visited by designer, maker, and extended tested family member, Sophy Wong. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh my God, so I love having you in the cave. Off camera, I love chatting with you about the latest things I've discovered and hearing about the latest things you've discovered. And you have brought a kind of autobiography in some textile explorations.
Yes, yes. I do a lot of work with 3D printing and with laser cutting. I love digital fabrication techniques. And so I've brought to you today several pieces that are made with 3D printing on fabric.
Dude, we haven't spoken about any of these pieces because we try and hold that conversation for camera, but just looking around here, I'm like, well, anyway, I'll get to that later. It's very exciting. What should we look at first?
So let's look at the jacket first, because this is the first piece that I did.
Okay.
And so this is actually a purchased jacket.
A purchased leather jacket.
And I've added some 3D printing on fabric to it.
Okay.
And here's an example of the panels.
Ah, so you've 3D printed on a netting.
Yeah, so this is a technique where you 3D print. You put down the first layer and then you pause it and you insert some mesh material, like a nylon mesh, and then you resume the print and the mesh gets sandwiched between the first two layers of the print.
Wow.
Yeah, and when you have like a segmented cellular kind of design like this, it retains flexibility when you take it off of the bed.
I can see that. I also, so much of 3D printing and the discussions around 3D printing are around hiding the manufacturing, around getting rid of the lines and painting it and finishing it. But this is a raw print. This is some sort of clear PET or something like that?
Yes, this is clear PLA, and I wanted to take advantage of the fact that it's a clear PLA material.
Yeah.
So I'm using these as light diffusion. So this jacket actually lights up.
No.
Yeah.
Can we light it up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No way.
Yeah, so the lighting is integrated in the lining of the jacket. I added the lighting between the lining and the exterior of the jacket.
Okay.
So all the wiring is hidden inside.
So you don't get caught up in wires when you're putting it on.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I just cut out a few places for the light to shine through exactly behind some of the printed pieces.
So they don't all light up.
They don't all light up. It's very selective.
But they're RGB bulbs, so you can adjust the color and presumably the animation across them?
Yes, exactly. So I have a controller in the pocket with some buttons on it, and I can switch through different modes of lighting animations in different colors.
Dude, just from a design perspective, I love that there's just a hint of the lighting here, and someone would be like, well, that looks really cool, and you turn around and they're like, oh, okay, I see, you're really serious about this.
Right, exactly. It's the reveal on the back.
That is fantastic. Have you worn this out?
This is the piece I wear the most because I feel I can integrate it into a wardrobe pretty easily.
Right.
With the lights off, it's just like an interesting looking jacket. And then, if I want a little more oomph, I just flip that switch.
That is so gorgeous. And I really love the flexibility that, my maker brain, it's like that lends itself to so many possibilities, and I realized we're about to see a whole bunch more.
Yes, exactly. So I got really excited when I did this one little piece, and I wanted to see how much further I could push it if I really invested thought and intention into the design that I'm printing. And so I thought I want to just put the printing on fabric full, like as the main event. So I made an entire garment using this technique. And that's this dress here.
Oh my gosh. And again, you're using the raw PLA and it's the natural specular stuff that's coming out of the printing process from the lines. But am I correct that the PLA itself also has some multiple colors going on?
So this particular PLA, it's this beautiful filament called Wizard's Voodoo, and it actually has sort of a dichromatic quality.
There we go.
And it's kind of iridescent is really what you get. So it's like a purpley, pinkish kind of a sheen. And I wanted to really put the design at the forefront of the piece, so I committed to just one filament for the whole piece, and that allows really the shapes to really pop.
There's an armor aspect to it, but also like a fish scale, like animal scales. I love the dimensionality. Like it's flat in many places, but you've got some real dimensionality to the printing up here.
Yeah, so I was kind of being strategic about the areas that I needed to really be flat with so that
How
they
so?
could
Just
bend a
in terms
little
of how it
more.
moves?
Yeah, and how where some of the pieces need to be smaller so I can get more bend into them.
Right,
and then
right.
some areas where I wanted to have a little more structure,
Yeah.
I made the pieces a little bit bigger.
Okay.
And then I knew I wanted to have kind of a focal piece in the middle, so I made this long, more dimensional piece, and here's a little sample of that. So you can really feel how the weight of the material
yeah.
creates a drape.
How does that feel to wear? It must feel really
It
interesting.
feels amazing. It feels like wearing like a heavy sequined gown or maybe some like chainmail. It has like this quality of being rigid but also really flexible at the same time.
In order to do this, this is a dress sewn out of separate pieces. So it's not like you printed these as monolithic. You actually printed them as the separate pieces and sewed them together.
Yes, so I'm not actually sewing. In this piece, I'm not sewing the 3D printed
Right.
pieces together. I am printing them in panels, and then I use my 3D pen with the same filament to kind of weld them together on the back.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so I leave sort of this seam allowance mesh area here, and I'll cut it off of the next piece, butt it up together, tape it on one side, flip it over, and weld it together on the back. And then you get this really seamless.
Yeah. And you can see that it falls really, I mean, it's just falling on the body, not on its own structure.
Yes, and I used a backing of silk that is a light color. It's actually kind of the same color as this dress form, so it
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
disappears, which is what
right.
I like. So you kind of are just focusing on the printing. And what's interesting about using this technique and kind of working through the workflow of developing the design
Yeah.
is I got to some areas where I didn't like the way it was folding over some areas of the body, so I wanted to make a change after I printed it. So I just cut that piece off, reprinted it in a new design idea, and then stuck it back on. And you
that
can't
works.
even see where I've welded it together.
So you were able to modify the design after printing while assembling.
Yeah, because it's kind of because of these like dividing lines.
Sure.
They become lines that I can cut and reassemble at.
Well, and I would imagine that sometimes you may build something that bends beautifully across two axes, but not on a diagonal, and that feels all of a sudden it bunches
Yes.
in weird ways.
Yes, and I learned a lot, and that was part of the reason I wanted to attempt to do this, because I wanted to kind of force myself to focus on different areas of the body and encounter those challenges. And yeah, I learned a lot about constructing an entire garment with this technique. The technique itself is a simple concept to grasp, but when you blow it up to this scale, you encounter all kinds of things that you wouldn't have thought would be issues.
My jaw is on the ground. It is so beautiful. Just all the different ways in which you've incorporated curves and the sinewy movement of animal scales and armor. It's just, and the specular aspect of this stuff is too, what's it called? Voodoo magic?
So this is it's by a company called Filamentum, and it's called, the color is called Wizard's Voodoo.
Wizard's Voodoo. That is
Yeah.
absolutely what that color should be called.
It's like an oil slick kind of effect.
Like the feathers of a raven almost.
yeah.
Except with a little less green than is in a raven's oily
Yeah.
feathers.
And I kind of like this aspect of committing to the material and not really treating it after the fact.
Right.
And kind of exploring like how can we make the material itself that comes out of a 3D printer really shine.
You know, and this is the thing, is that like for the props I replicate, I always have to hide this.
Yes.
But you're now utilizing it and exploring a whole nother vista. It's so thrilling.
What's really interesting is a lot of filament makers are making even more interesting materials, and they're coming up with new sort of formulations for their
Right.
filaments. And so I have another piece that
Yep.
takes advantage of another kind of
Okay,
filament.
let's move on.
So I have this piece here, which is it's sort of a combination between like a soft helmet or a headdress or even a wig. And this is made with a filament that is co-extruded. So it's one color on one side of the strand and another color on the other side.
Whoa!
And you can see the filament itself is actually
It's
in
bifurcated.
two halves.
Right.
Exactly. So it's pink on this side, and then it's yellow on this side.
So am I correct that as this feeds through the 3D printer, the 3D printer can't choose the orientation of this. So as it prints, it revolves slightly, which lends to this sort of crazy color variance.
Yeah, what you actually get is a grain. It's kind of like fabric.
Right.
Yeah, because half of the print will be one color and the other half of the print will be another color. And it actually is side dependent. So if you have 3 items on the same bed, they will all be pink on one side and
Right,
all be
right,
yellow
right.
on the other side. So what I did in this piece is I wanted to kind of explore that quality. And so I really tried to create dimensions and edges. So these pieces you can tell are yellow on this side and pink on this side.
Oh, that is, and so you chose your orientation of how these sit.
Yes. So I printed this as it's a symmetrical piece.
Yeah.
And so I rotated my print so that there would be symmetry in the way the color is distributed across it. I was just trying to explore like how you would use it in a similar way that you would do this with fabric grain.
So this is also, like, I have been alive through several technological sea changes, right? So I learned graphic design in the years before computers, and I got to see what computers did to graphic design, which at first was a horrible crime against humanity. But eventually, people learned how to use computers, and they learned how to do designs you couldn't do any other way. But it took a while for that maturation to happen. 3D printing started out as rapid prototyping, with the idea that you'd use it to imitate other things. And that's what I was talking about getting rid of these lines. But now you are designing for the process itself and finding things the process can do that nothing else, no other manufacturing technique can do. That's a really exciting space.
Yeah, that's where I really want to work. I want to see like where we can push this, where we're getting new things out of it. And I'm really glad that I discovered other people working in this technique. I did not invent this technique, and that's just a testament to the maker community sharing ideas and techniques.
Right.
And everyone I know who's working with this technique is doing something slightly different with it, and it's all exciting.
Oh my God, I just can't get over how this is regal. It feels almost Egyptian. It feels African. It feels Incan. I mean, there's so many. The structure feels architectural. It feels also like bone-like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that when I'm trying to, so here are some samples that I've been working on as well, and these are kinds of smaller pieces that I've been playing with to try to see like what kinds of qualities I can get out of varying the dimension and the lines, how wide are the dividing lines, how thick are the pieces.
Of how shiny that is really amazing. Mm-hmm. Am I correct that that's the downside?
Yes. On this printer, I'm printing on glass, and it's very, very flat, so you can get a really beautiful, shiny surface.
Right. It's almost like acrylic.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, ooh. Oh, man. I just keep on. This is the sound I'm making throughout this whole video. Oh, man. But holy cow.
Yeah.
So you're playing around with chamfered edges in terms of also getting some kind of extra mechanical.
Exactly. Yeah. So you get when you have this kind of dimension on one side and almost no dimension on the other side. It's really interesting because on one side you can have some structure, and on the other side it can flex completely.
Right.
So like as a designer, it's really exciting because I get to imbue the material with behavioral qualities that wouldn't otherwise be there. I get to completely control how that material works.
Wow. Oh, that's really neat. Oh, I'm overwhelmed by the possibilities.
I'm so glad.
Okay, where are we going from here?
I worked on this piece. This is kind of the most recent piece that I've done, and it's a glove, and it takes advantage of that glass bed to create a very shiny surface.
It is like sequins like I have never seen before.
Yes, yes, they're like custom sequins.
May I put this on?
Yes, please. And so this is kind of everything that I've done sort of coming together. So I built this on the white part of the glove is a purchased glove. The black finger areas are actually 3D printed TPU, so it's a flexible filament.
I can see that. That's really cool.
And then this piece, this black piece, is actually a custom piece that I sewed as sort of like an overlay that could hold, that would sort of be a backing for the 3D printed on fabric piece, which is all the white and the gray. Oh, and then it lights up.
I was going to say, does that EL wire perhaps?
Yeah, so this is actually LED. It's like silicone LED strands.
Wow. Yes. Norm has been showing me stuff like this. It's a very exciting space.
Yeah, and it's super flexible, so it really lends itself to being integrated into a flexible piece like this.
So I know you like movie costumes, and one of the things that movie costumes have been doing for the last 10 years is using a lot of BMX armored gloves.
Yes.
Right? And the still suits for Dune and all these other different costumes. But I would wager there are some customers looking at this now, looking at this flexible 3D printed stuff and being like, oh, it's time to go in a wholly new direction.
Yeah, you can make it exactly how you want it to look. It can be completely customizable.
Wow, Sophie. And you've got, so I see we've got a couple different textures here. That's the top printed surface.
So this gray sort of silvery area is just a different color of filament. This is just silver filament.
But it's also on the printed side as opposed to the back side.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yes.
Right.
This is printed. Yes, this is the top surface. Exactly. Right. And then the white is all the bottom surface.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man. This is really exciting. Have there been times you printed something thinking, this is going to be so awesome, and it was a total shit show?
Oh, yeah. And I've had things snag on the bed. I've had them lift up when I wasn't expecting it. You know, some of these prints actually it works out really well that these are small prints because I can iterate quickly. They might only take a few hours to print, which is
because
quick.
it's just a very small number of layers.
Yeah. But the dress pieces actually a lot of them took more time, and I would find them in the morning, put them in place, and see them and be like, oh, that's not going to work. You know, a lot of it is iteration and guessing, and when I put it on the human body and I actually try to move in it, I'm like, this is chafing.
That's an incredible. So you and all these other makers experimenting in this space are all gaining really interesting parts of institutional knowledge about what forms work on under what conditions.
Yeah.
And since there's sharing going on, that's a wonderful iterative space.
Totally. And I think something that I do see kind of emerging as a common strategy for working with this is that our pieces tend to look kind of biological because we're all working on the same common denominator, which is the human body.
Right.
So to make something rigid, like a 3D printed piece, work on a human body, it has to be segmented, it has to be a bit regular because you're working on a base shape that you can't change.
Right.
And so there are these sort of common strategies sort of like surfacing.
Yeah.
And you can see it across everybody's different works, and it's really interesting to see that like developing.
I'll bet. I'm noticing here in the print you've actually added this extra dimension of detail.
Yeah, so this is actually an artifact of the way 3D printing works is everything goes down in flat layers. So when I do a curved surface across the top, it becomes segmented like this.
Oh.
So you can get another sort of like texture, surface texture.
So what this is each one of these is a step going up. Oh, I thought they were like grooves that were printed in, but you have all of these areas to play with in terms of how the movement.
Exactly. And so these pieces are sample pieces that I did on the bed to determine what orientation I wanted to print this on.
Oh, nice.
So the safety pin is telling me which edge was facing the back of the printer. So I just printed these and had a look at them and held them up over my form, and I was like, which one do I like the quality of the best? Do I like the colors changing this way, or do I like the colors changing that way? And so just going through all of these like sampling processes and testing, I was able to make design decisions.
I love this. I was doing a panel at a con a couple weekends ago, and the last question of the day was really lovely as this maker said, I'm wearing my very first cosplay. I want to do another one, but I just don't know what to do, and I don't know what it means to be ready to do the next one. And it's such a great question. And I said, I can hear in your brain the desire to have a bunch of knowledge before proceeding. And I'm here to tell you, from being my age and having all of this time in the business, you got to leap first, and the knowledge comes from the iterative process. And this, of just all of these test samples you keep doing, are so thrilling to me, because they may not even work for the project you're currently working on, but they're building this database in you of what this can do.
Exactly. And actually, I initially, when I wanted to do this 3D printed dress, I wanted to have electronics in it. I wanted to have different colors. I wanted to do everything. My ambition was huge. And I started working on it. And a couple of weeks in, I was like, I have way too many ideas for this. I really need to pull it back and commit to one concept, because I'm still learning this process.
Right. And each one of them is a problem to solve. You have to break them into chunks.
Yeah. And if those chunks can all be projects, then that's great. And that's kind of what I've ended up doing.
Amazing. So there is some potential future where you can, I'm sure that we can eventually start printing LEDs into the prints.
Oh yeah. I know people who are embedding things into their prints. You can even do conductive filament, so you could print your circuit. It's not flexible right now, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah.
You can embed conductive material in it.
So you could end up, this could be animating light across itself.
Yeah, I think we could get there for sure. I want to get there.
Yeah, I can tell. Okay, so after this, wait, can we talk about this?
Oh, there's one more piece.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a collar.
Oh my goodness.
And everything, all the other pieces are sort of flat, a little bit flatter dimensionally, and I really wanted to try to make something that went all in on printing with dimension. Yeah,
dude.
Yeah, and it ended up having this musical quality. It makes this weird, like, clicking noise when you move it. That was totally unexpected.
Oh, yes.
It's like this, I don't know what this is.
And then I wonder if you could print these with infill and get different tones out of them,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, different like amounts, yeah, different weights, different densities.
Okay.
And of course I made this one light up as
Some
well.
lighting here. Oh, these light up. Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, so this is translucent filament. So again, like kind of exploring the natural quality of the material itself. So it works great as a diffuser. Yeah.
I'll tell you the thing that I keep thinking as you're showing me all this. At the moment we're recording this, the Met Gala has just happened in the recent past. So next year, someone calls you up and asks you to build their dress for the Met Gala. Have you got some ideas?
I've got ideas. I've got plenty of ideas.
Good.
Yes.
Good, because I want to see Billy Porter wearing some of your stuff, man.
I want to do it. I'm ready.
This is, Sophie, this is so inspiring, and not just the objects themselves, but your whole procedure, your process of iteration. It's thrilling. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Dude, we may turn off the camera, but I'm going to keep staring at these for another half hour. Sophie's incredible 3D printed textiles continue to push a brand new envelope of a brand new field, and it is so inspiring to see the things that she is coming up with. If you'd like to see it even closer, we also filmed this in virtual reality as part of our Tested VR series. You can watch it right now either in the Tested VR app or on MetaQuest TV. Links and details are in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching.